Sir, I am unable to hear you, sir. Rahul, please speak.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ma'am, Madhvi ma'am, is my voice audible to everyone? I cannot hear you, sir, actually.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Now you're audible, sir.
Okay. There is some technical glitch. I'm not able to come on my iPad. I'm using my mobile phone. Are you using your mobile phone?
Yes, sir. I'm also using my mobile phone.
Okay. As long as it is audible, I think we can go ahead. Can you
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead? Okay. Right. When you are not comfortable, you kindly tell me. Right?
Sure, sir.
Okay. Rahul, I welcome you to this session, the first session we are having the current time. And my name is S.S. Jawahar. I belong to 1988 batch of Tamil Nadu Kada, retired as Principal Secretary, and I've been in this state for the past 9 years. So this one-on-one session, I welcome you first on behalf of Kingmakers IAS Academy. And this one-on-one session is more, I have designed in an informal way. So the very purpose is to, you can strategize your interview needs. You can enhance your knowledge. You can have your doubts getting cleared, which is not possible in a mock personality test. That is the very idea. And this is designed in such a way, the first one, about some 15 minutes I'll take up for your, what you call, interview purpose, just on your desk. Then about some 15 minutes I'll go for current affairs. And after that, some 15 minutes, we'll have doubts clearance session. So there we'll make very informal, where whatever doubts you have, you can get it cleared. So it can be an informal, because between you and me, if you want, you can take down notes. Whatever doubts you have, including the way in which we sit, we talk. Of course, we are not in person, we cannot do that, but still we'll be able to interact with one another through this method. I hope you understood the format of the one-on-one session.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure to meet you. Yes, sir. It's clear.
Okay. I'm also equally privileged to meet Mr. Rahul. Right, Mr. Rahul. We'll get into intro mode now, and interview board. So first, I would like you to introduce yourself to the board members.
Good morning, sir. My name is Rahul. I graduated
Yes.
from IIT Trichy, Tamil Nadu in 2015. Post that, I worked in two organizations. After college, I worked in Texas Instruments India. I was posted in Bangalore. Post Texas Instruments, I switched to NTPC, where I'm currently working at, and my current place of location is Shaktinagar. I
Okay.
originally belong to the state of Bihar, where me and my parents have their native place. And my
Okay.
hobbies are playing chess and volleyball and quizzing, as I have mentioned in the form.
Very good. Rahul, your name immediately brings a large number of names to my mind. Can you tell me some two personalities having your name? Why do they come to your mind now?
My favorite personalities having my resemblance to my name are two from the sports section. One is Rahul Dravid, whom I
Yes,
admire as a person and as a personality. And the second person from the political scenario is Sri Rahul Gandhi, who is the
yes.
from Indian National Congress.
Yeah, what's happening with Mr. Rahul Gandhi right now?
He is currently on a tour of Pan India, which he calls as Bharat Jodo Yatra. So that has been in news
Yes.
recently, where he is traveling along the length and breadth of the country.
Very well. We'll not get into kind of any political discussions on that, but we'll find, you have been, could see you're an excellent, what do you call, academic career, right from your schooling to your CGPA for 9.67 and you're a gold medalist. Which is what I can call is an excellent academic career. Having done
Thank
such an academic career, one could normally think in terms of a PhD or a teaching career or something else in our instrumentation. But what made you to think in terms of civil service, and particularly what are the qualities you think in you are suitable for civil service?
Thank you for the appreciation, sir. Yes, after
Thank you.
obtaining my graduation, I had a very high CGPA. So people do ask me that you should have pursued the higher studies, or my bent of mind and my thinking has been that I want to be part of India's growth story in the next 20 to 30 years. And there
Good.
can be many ways to be a part of it. It can be through academics or industry or civil service. All of them contribute equally well. It is my personality traits of I connect well with social sector. I
Yes.
do. I have worked in colleges, in college clubs where we used to go and teach poor students near my college, Trichy. So there I understood that grassroots level problems in India, such as education, health, are something which I can contribute more, and I really had an interest in it. So that made me turn my mind into civil services. Other than that, qualities such as I like being like leadership and team spirit is what I really enjoy.
Very good.
I think, and along with that, the principles of integrity and honesty are something which would add to the quality of civil services,
Very good,
which I
Rahul
think.
Srivastava. You have explained it very well, and I could also see that you are a person who didn't waste your time only in the name of civil service. You have gone for some work. You have been doing some. You have taken up an employment, doing useful job. That way, I am really happy because many people they don't do that. But what made you to be consistent right from your this thing to only for civil service? You could have landed up saying that there is no need for it. I can go for some other area.
Okay. I have an interest in technical aspects, like the graduation that I did in instrumentation. I really liked the curriculum, and that is why I took an interest in it.
Very
I
good.
think I think we can always choose a career which is more inclined towards our academics. But then choosing civil services gives the opportunity to work on a very broader platform. To the work which we do would directly impact a lot of people in terms of social problems. and also it gives you the opportunity to work on very diverse platforms. Like today I can work on the education sector, tomorrow maybe since I'm working in NTPC I might get deputation to the power ministry and something like that. So the diverse
Good.
opportunities is what attracts me more towards civil services.
Okay. Okay. Do you think that civil service you live in these days, will it be possible to contribute directly to an individual's welfare?
Yes, sir. I personally think when in the initial years of the administrative service, generally we are posted in the names of SDM or ground level postings, which we call.
Good.
In that case, whatever decisions we take directly affects a lot of people in the block or the tehsil. So in the initial years, we do get to work at the grassroots level, which impacts a lot of people directly. However, later in the career, when we move to ministries or deputations to other departments, the nature of job becomes more of a policy analysis and implementation. So it becomes a top-down approach wherein we can contribute to the welfare of the people indirectly. However, not as
Very good.
directly as given in the initial part.
Very good. Fine. And your DAP tells me that you have been interested in quizzing. Your one of the hobbies, or I can say your skill set is quizzing.
Yes, sir.
How you quizzing is been interesting to you? Have you a quizzing master or you are a participant?
Yes, sir. I have been on both sides of the platform. I have been a participant as well. And in the college, I was part of the quiz club. NIT Trichy
Good.
has a very reputed quiz club, which not only organizes clubs with contests within the college, but also in nearby colleges such as Shastra University and IIT Madras.
Yeah.
So I was the member, and I organized quizzes as well as I played quiz. The interest in
Very
quizzing
good.
came from my curiosity to learn new things, as well as I met a lot of very good people and seniors in the club, which even enhanced my interest towards quizzing.
Very good. And you studied at Saint Karen School. Tell me something about Saint Karen.
Saint Karen's was a nun, like a nun from Spain. She was the head of the order in Spain, and missionaries from that part have settled in Bihar since pre-colonial times in the 1700s.
Okay.
And we have a family of people who belong to that Christianity order who have set up that school in Patna, and they run a missionary convent. So
Very
that is
good.
the history.
Very good. What was your reason for choosing NIT Trichy?
At that point of time, my the best college, NIT Trichy is the number one college in terms of NIT when it comes to the NRI ranking, NIRA
Okay.
ranking. Uh, at the point at which I was taking admission, I did not frankly know much about the colleges and the comparison. But it was like
Mhm.
uh, many people inputs told me that if you're getting a seat in NIT Trichy, you should go for it. So it was an uninformed decision, but it later turned out to be very fruitful.
Very good. Was your, because from shifting during your education from one state to another, it would have made quite a lot of, insightful things to you. What are the things that you have perhaps learned? Can you tell me some three things that you learned after coming over to Trichy?
Yes, sir. Since I belong to the state of Bihar, and Tamil Nadu and Bihar are pretty different when it comes to culture. So three things
Yeah.
which I can point out. One was the clothing and the attire people wear. So Tamil Nadu has a very hot climate, hot and equatorial sort of climate. So
Yes.
people wear clothes which suit the climate, like cotton clothes or easygoing clothes. Whereas Bihar is situated in the temperate region where it gets very cold in
Yeah.
4 to 5 months of the year. So there is a difference of climate which I saw. Second was food. Like Tamil Nadu is more based on the rice system, wherein almost all the meals include rice, either directly or indirectly. So adjusting to the food was initially a bit of challenge, but later I think I developed a taste for Tamil Nadu cuisine.
Good.
And third was the love for tourism, in the sense that
Mm.
people there love to visit places around nearby. Like from Trichy, we have almost covered many places as part of tourist. This enthusiasm for tourism was something I did not find as much as in Bihar. So I really liked
Okay.
that aspect.
Very good, very good. You are able to get some new insights as soon as you come to. Then you have been working with Delhi, and you have been often visiting Delhi and Bengaluru, right? Now you are
Yes.
settled in a IT capital of India, Bengaluru. How do you find the life in Bengaluru is different from life in Chennai or in Bihar?
Yes, sir. Life in Bangalore is very fast paced. It gets slow when you are in traffic, but yes, it is very fast. There are the corporate culture and the startup culture is very strong. People find opportunities next door. Like if you are somewhere think that a better opportunity lies, the
Good.
connections and the networks are very strong. You can always switch to better opportunities. And second is the culture of the place is very conducive to corporate culture. Like people have adjusted to the IT people. Like even if you go via an auto to the office, they ask you that what is the login time. I will make sure you reach before that. So
Yes.
it's the synergy between people and the place which has made Bangalore the Silicon Valley of India.
Very good. Very good. Nice description. I like that. And your stint in NTPC, uh, because now we have been diversifying our, from renewable sources of energy. What do you look at the future of NTPC?
Yes, sir. NTPC is primarily based on the thermal mode of generation, although it has its subsidiaries and investment in solar and nuclear and other renewables. In the broader perspective, India, as the part of its climate commitment goals, as well as part of its environment changes which are happening, has to shift towards the renewable energy. The grid challenges remain to be solved through renewable energy. NTPC, as part of the long term future, can contribute in two significant ways. One is through our technical expertise, like we have an in house expertise in power generation and transmission. And second is through manpower, through this, what to say, through an experienced power professionals. Like all of us are very much aware about the different aspects of power from right from generation till the distribution, and the entire power chain is very well known to us. So having
Yes.
a set of people who have skill sets very relevant to the power sector, India can, like NTPC can contribute a lot to India's goal of one world, one sun, world grid concept.
Very good. Well, now, the coming back to your NTPC and renewable source of energy, most of the government institutions, particularly in business sector, they are not contributing so well for various reasons, because there are inherent difficulties in being very efficient in government agencies because of its vastness or kind of communication difficulties. Do you think NTPC has a better system or it can be better?
Yes, sir. Sir, you rightly pointed out that many of the PSUs have had the history of financial bankruptcy and
Yes.
government bailing out the PSU, such as BSNL, for example. NTPC as an organization has a very strong set of core values, which includes integrity, commitment, organizational culture. The
Good.
reason of good profitability of NTPC and sustained profitability, I would say, is one because of its work culture, which is highly professional and efficient in approach. Like it does not have a typical government setup wherein things go in process and takes a lot of time. We have very quick decision making. For example, I would say that NTPC recently formed a joint venture with Solar Energy Corporation of India, and that
Okay.
decision to form the JV was taken in only 3 months. So NTPC is a very lean organization, and other than that, I would say that the kind of people that are in the organization decide the future of the organization.
Yes.
So NTPC recruits very efficient set of people through gate examination. Like the best of the engineers come to work here. Although I do
Okay.
not want to praise myself in that lot, but yes, the kind of people that has been recruited is what decides the future of any organization, and I think NTPC has made sure that its future is very secure with in the hands of executives.
Very good. I fully agree with what you say. And you look at the
Sir, India's set of commitments which it made at the COP26
no, I'm
was
not only
basically
talking about India. I'm not talking only about India. The whole world is now today
yes,
scrambling for resources relating to crude oil, natural gas, and coal.
yes, sir. The whole world is overall committed to reducing the carbon dioxide emissions. But then we also have to look at it from the aspect of energy security and energy independence. I would like to
Good.
quote the example of Germany here. Recently, the oil gas pipeline from Russia to Germany was blocked because of the
Yes.
Russia-Ukraine war, and Germany was
Yes.
facing energy crisis. So we have to balance between environment goals and commitments as well as the energy security of the country. Now, energy security mostly comes through conventional fossil fuels, which are
Yes.
coal or natural gas or whichever crude oil, and the renewables play a part to it. So the approach has to be that a base part of your energy commitment has to come from coal, which has to be phased down in a regular manner, in a gradual manner. Let's say
Yeah.
you
This
plan
is
a
this is
phase
what
out of
exactly we want, because their commitment is a long-term commitment, but in a short
yes,
term,
sir.
This conference will now be recorded.
need to taper
Yes,
down,
sir.
right? Okay, very well.
Yes, sir.
That is what I expected, because sometimes the other side has certain thing in this mind. So when it comes from your mouth for the first time, immediately, instantly, they get happy, right? So in
Thank you,
an
sir.
interview, it happened. So I expect something I have in my mind, right? And so I want this a long term, the short term, maybe for another 10 years, we cannot dispense with, right? So you cannot, overnight, you cannot change everything. So we need a lot of, particularly infrastructure construction, quite a lot of techniques and what you call technology transfers need to take place. Still solar energy, we need to stabilize the grid system. Then your battery problems are there, photovoltaic battery. Just you can mention a few about them in your answer, right? Very good. Now, as we are talking about this solar energy, our commitment towards green energy, is it possible that India can become nil emission by 2070?
I do believe we can, although the path will be very challenging. There are a few constraints to it. One is renewable energy का जो physical components is there, that needs to मतलब India needs to develop its independence. For example, India still imports about 80% of the solar panels from China, the solar modules and the PV modules.
Yes.
So we need to
Yes.
develop capabilities to produce our own. One of the schemes which have been going on is the production linked incentive, the PLI scheme for solar panels. So we need to ramp up on our technical infrastructure capabilities. Along with that, developing the grid infrastructure, because integrating renewable energy in the grid is challenging because of its variable nature. The wind power and the solar power have basically variation along with the climate and the day, time of the day. So if we are able to solve those challenges, and also since India is on a path to become the highest rated economy, like the superpower, the energy
Yes.
demand of India will increase in the coming years at a very high pace. Already we see a CAGR of about 8% in the energy demand rise. So
Yeah.
coal has and still will play a significant part, although its percentage in the energy mix will come down.
Yeah.
Solar
Can
will
you tell me
basically
why?
go up.
Yeah, very good. Can you
Yes,
tell me why the European winter this time is going to be very hard for everybody? the European winter, it's going to cause quite a lot of problem for everybody. Why?
It is probably associated with the gas shortage, which is imported mostly from Russia. And the Russia-Ukraine war has placed supply constraints on the supply of gas.
There is a complaint that US is taking advantage of the situation. Can you
There is
tell
a
me
lot
why
of
kind of a criticism arises?
Yes, basically it is basically arm twisting in the name of diplomacy and energy security. So Europe as a nation was highly dependent on Russia for its gas imports. Around 80% of the gas which the European nations use are imported from Russia via the two pipelines, the Nord
Yes.
pipeline.
Yes.
Now, because of the Ukraine war and the European nations, the NATO nations supporting Ukraine, Russia has decided that it will cut down on its fuel supplies to Europe as part of its tactics to gain the upper hand. Now, US sees an opportunity here to increase and diversify its market because it has a huge reserve of not only natural gas, but also it has invested a lot in the shale gas recently, and it has it is foremost in the shale gas technology production. So it wants a lot of diversified market, and there are already existing pipelines across the Atlantic which it wants to use and augment its capacity. So it is basically war in the name of proxy war in the name of energy security. Uh,
Yes.
that is what I'm
Anyway,
seeing.
now in the war, we'll find a recent development where the Saudi Arabia is refusing to increase the production. It is cutting down the production of crude oil, even despite the warning from the United States of America. How do you look at this scenario?
The Gulf countries have always acted as a cartel during they are the major chunk producers of oil, and they decide the supply and demand, and hence the crude oil market, the rate of the crude oil in the market. So Saudi, because of its recent political affiliations and the progressive path which it has taken, its relations with the other Gulf countries have been a little not too comfortable. And Saudi and India has signed a lot of agreements with the UAE and Saudi recently to increase its production because there has been a lot of sanctions on Iran by the P5 countries.
Very
So
good.
Iran as a major source of supplier, which was 5 years back for India, is no more a reliable nation to be dependent upon.
Yes.
So these geopolitics at play have put Saudi Arabia in the forefront because it also wants to diversify its energy mix, and it also wants that its economy should not be too dependent on just crude oil production.
Very good. Now we are hearing about internationalization of renminbi, yuan. Internationalization of yuan or renminbi. What does it
Uh,
mean to you?
the current currency which I'm sorry, excuse me. The current currency which is mostly used for settling international transactions are mostly US dollar or euro
Yeah.
or pound. But recently, because of this Russia-Ukraine war and the chain of events it created, wherein country have faced high inflation, high current account deficits, there has been talks about internationalization of currencies. Even the rupee was considered to be internationalized, wherein the countries which are in the chain of import and export would settle their transactions in their respective currencies itself. Recently, if I remember the India and Russia, it was a Ruby Ruble agreement where
Rupee,
they
rupee. Yeah.
Ruby Ruble agreement where they settled the transactions in their respective currency. So it also, one is this economic financial aspect, and second is the soft power aspect because once your currency gets internalized, your prestige and the weightage of your position in international forum rises because the reason why US has such an influence on international relations is one of the reasons is that dollar is the international currency.
Yes.
So a diplomatic angle also adds to the internal nationalization of currencies.
Very good. Now, have you heard about the petrodollar agreement that was signed in
Uh,
1974 between Saudi Arabia and USA?
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not aware about
Yeah,
this
yeah.
agreement.
It's nothing but 1974. Saudi Arabia, it agreed to deal all its oil sale through dollar, USD. And in return, the US will take care of security needs and supply arms and weapon to Saudi Arabia. That was the simple terms of an agreement. Right now, they wanted to get away from that. So, kind of lot of the American hegemony. They don't want to lose their hegemony over the oil. So they wanted to keep track. But whereas now the Saudis are trying to come out. Do you think the world is towards what you call the American hegemony will be lost, and there will be quite a lot of changes will be taking place in the world in the near future?
Yes, sir. Recently, I read an article wherein it said the world is looking inward now. Like the 90s and the early 2000s was the era of globalization, wherein all of us got connected in global value supply chains. But now, most of the countries, because of the shocks of two, one is the COVID, which broke a lot of supply chains, and second is the ongoing disturbance and war in Russia, Ukraine, and Europe. Countries are looking inwards and trying to find out ways in which they can secure their supply chain. For example, in India, we have launched the Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign, where we are looking to secure the supply chains. And also, one other example which comes to my mind is the semiconductor shortage which the countries
Yes.
are facing, because of which a lot of industries are getting affected.
Very
So,
good.
India is also dependent on China and Russia for raw materials and assembly of packages. So, in the near future, there is a drive for deglobalization, or I would say localization. But I think in the long term prospect, countries would still need a lot of help from each other to for their growth path, because everyone is constrained in some way or the other. If one country has
Very
something
good.
in surplus, the other has in deficit.
Very good. Back to our India, we will find that today the inflation is on the high trend. Of course, now it is coming within the range of about 6%. And whenever there is a US Federal Bank is increasing interest rate, it has got serious impact on other currencies. Why?
Yes, sir. This phenomena has occurred before, and this is known as the taper tantrum. So, what
Mm.
happens is the Federal Bank of the US raises the interest rates on their government bonds. So, because the foreign direct investors and the foreign institutional investors, which are invested in other countries such as India, they prefer to invest in their home country, like the US, where they would get higher rates for the same investment. So, they withdraw a lot of money from the Indian market. One is that thing. Second is because the demand for US dollar goes up, the currency depreciates. Like Indian currency depreciated recently, even touched till the levels of 80 rupees per dollar. So these two things affect and since everything is connected via the export-import supply chains, this leads to
Very,
inflation and widening of the current account deficit as well.
very good. And coming back to our Indian scenario, we will see that recently the Supreme Court has upheld the 10% reservation for the EWS. But the judgment created quite a lot of furor. Can you tell me what is some major criticism in respect of the judgment? We are not criticizing the judges. We are thinking in terms of the kind of judgment that has come, has created some flutter. Can you tell me one or two points?
Yes, the judgment was split three judges to two judges, so it was a very narrow majority for the judges. And the key
Mhm.
points wherein which was discussed is one is the key question here was, is economic criteria a suitable
Mhm.
ground for giving constitutional based reservation? Because in the past, there has been various issues and appeals from communities who have asked for reservations on the basis of their weaker economical status. And
Exactly.
through many judgments in the past, the Supreme Court has maintained the stand that no, the criteria for reservation has to be a social backwardness or like non-inclusive nature of their caste and community. Economic status cannot be the status for reservation. But in this judgment, like this is the landmark moment where they have upheld the government of India's decision to purely include economy as a economic basis as a reservation. This was point one. Point two was, since EWS reservation excludes people who fulfill the criteria of EWS belonging to the scheduled caste OBC community. Now the question is that if economic criteria is what is deciding the reservation, suppose someone is relatively poor and belongs to the ST community, why cannot he be given the benefit of EWS?
This
So that
what
was
you are explaining. Yeah, Rahul. Just sorry for intervention. You are explaining the on a larger scale, but when in an interview, you will have time for about 40 to 50 seconds for an answer, unless they ask you more about it. So try to give a concise answer, because my point was, what is the kind of a criticism? So if you ask me the same question now, I'll try to reply. Do ask me that question.
Yes, sir. I would like to hear your answer. What was the criticism of the EWS judgment?
Yeah. So the first criticism, it appears that the economic criterion has been taken because it is not provided in the constitution. That by the amendment has been provided, that has been accepted under what is called the basic doctrine of the constitution. That is creating a flutter among different. Then the economic criterion of 8 lakh rupees, it is provided only to the upper classes or so-called well developed classes, whereas the other communities, backward classes, are left behind. That's one criterion. Then the 50% cap that has been accepted on many grounds, and even the courts themselves have restricted, like Maratha reservation. They have restricted it on the basis. Now it has been opening, they create a Pandora's box. So these are the points I could see. Now you could say what you are saying, the same thing I am bringing in a, try to be in a crisp manner. Because this comes only when you do more of such sessions, either with your friends or with yourself. You can create some questions, put them on your mobile phone, record it, and see how long you're taking. And wherever you can make your words choicy, but at the same time, the conversation should go, not a question answer session. No, the conversation should be lively. To that extent, you have to make it go. Very well. Otherwise, your answers are very good. Right. Fine. Then let's see. You have been trying for engineering services twice. Have you been selected in 2020?
Yes, sir. I was selected in 2020. I was recommended as rank 33 in the electronics and telecommunications team.
Okay.
Although, as I mentioned in my DAF, I did not join because the medical board declared me fit for technical services, fit for non-technical services.
Non-technical. Okay.
But
Okay.
all
Okay.
the
I can
vacancies
understand. Yeah, because that the doubt may arise. This doubt will definitely, they said, like why you are IAS and why you are already doing a job, all those things, but have a brief answer for them. Don't get perturbed when they ask you why you are left. Somebody may ask you, even they say that having been selected, you didn't join. You can straight away come up saying that, sir, the medical board found me fit for non-technical posts. Isn't it? Non-technical post. That's why I went for this thing. If suppose somebody, in general, they will not ask you any question beyond that, because that will be very personal. They will not ask such question. If suppose they ask, have a ready-made answer. What will be the kind of? I don't want to ask you, but if they ask, have one question, one answer. In which area, what they'll ask, they normally will not, because that will be beyond breaking the courtesy, right? So they will not ask, because they'll be more cordial than what I am now, right? So you don't expect that, but be prepared. If somebody asks you, you would give a polite reply. You don't get perturbed on this second. Then you can say, sir, it is the medical board's view, right? The medical board is final. So they give a decision on that. Well, and recently we'll be quite a lot of discussions going on our what do you call personal data protection bill, draft personal data protection bill. So why it is? We have all along been talking about data protection, or what you call data localization. But that concept has been given up in the new draft. Can you tell me what made the government to go away from this stand?
Yes, sir. Although I'm not very aware of the exact provisions of the draft bill, but from what I have read and understood is one that the concept of data localization has been done away with. Earlier, it was the norm that companies such as Facebook and data fiduciaries should store the data within the national boundary. And the
Yes.
second thing is, many exemptions have been given to government agencies who are handling the data. Suppose the UAIDI, the Aadhaar body,
Yes.
they have been given a lot of exemptions on the data governance, which was a point of criticism for the draft bill.
Well,
Although
you have an idea of go through what is the major this thing. That is why I'm putting most of the questions as your take, because in an interview they don't expect most of the sometimes they'll ask you about understanding of a particular concept. Like I was asking about internationalization of renminbi. But in most of the time, they'll ask you about a critical point where your own take or your understanding of a particular thing. So here, why should the government, in most probably what happened, big tech companies, they don't agree. So if the localization to be introduced, it will going to be a cost, quite a lot of job loss for them, because they'll have to have dual servers in India and abroad, mostly in US, right? So this is going to cause what you call a flutter with regard to the big tech companies. The government doesn't want, because now we are advancing in all our area, UPI, your transaction, your 5G, in every area, AI, everywhere we are just going up. As such, it will be very difficult for India to take up that kind of a stand. Maybe that is the reason they don't want, they are not pressurizing on the localization, data localization. Do you think data privacy is necessary in a country like India with a vast population?
yes, sir. I think data privacy is necessary, and there should be enough regulation measures to ensure data privacy. Although the regulations have to be balanced with the freedom of expression, as was put in the Puttaswamy judgment by the Supreme Court, that right to privacy is to be a fundamental right, but it has to be balanced with the reasonable restriction as well.
Okay.
So, for example, the amount of data that is generated on the Aadhaar database, that is a
Yeah.
very sensitive database because it also includes biometrics and everything since it's linked to the Aadhaar database. People can trace a lot of information which is personal and sensitive. So there has to be regulations to use the database on both the part, on part of the government as well as the private sector with whom the data has to be shared.
Very good. And now, if you think India should have a better data protection law, which law they can adopt at the international level? Do you have any such law that can be emulated by India?
Yes, sir. European Union has this GDPR, Global Data Protection Register.
Exactly,
Most of the
exactly. Yeah, good. Go ahead.
I was
Go
saying that
ahead.
most of the provisions in the draft bill, the data protection bill, have been uh, inspired from the regulations which are in the GDPR. So that is like the golden benchmark for data protection currently.
Exactly. This answer is an excellent answer because it's a kind of a benchmark, and Europeans have what you call the best practices in this regard. So when you make a law, when you make a bill, naturally you should look forward to what is happening elsewhere, right? In a country like Europe, you know how the European Union is basing. Instead of you need to kind of balance your trade interests. You need to balance the interest of the big tech at the same time a poor man's private privacy, and we'll better to adopt European this thing. But still, quite a lot of problems are there. But challenges are there in always government, and challenges are there. Well, and we'll just go away from that. Now, the RBI is increasing the interest rates to contain inflation. Do you think it's a right method, only the method to contain inflation?
Yes, sir. In the recent Monetary Policy Committee decisions, the repo rate have been continuously increased to control the supply of money. Although inflation targeting can be achieved by interest rates, but it has a very long lag time. Means the transmission of the repo rate from the RBI to the banks to the customers do not happen in a linear way. So the effectiveness of repo and reverse repo is questionable because of its time delay. However, the other sides of maintaining the inflation rate, such as supply chains, like most of the inflation is geared by the food inflation, which is basically caused by the increase in prices of crude oil, which is somehow not in our under our control. But then ensuring that food supply chains are not broken, there is no black hoarding or shortage of, let's say, a shortage of tomatoes or something in the market. So those kind of things can be definitely monitored through the governance setup, and other methods such as penting up demand and easing of inflation along these lines, other than repo and reverse repo, can also be tried.
Okay, fine. Your answer is right. And now there is a quite lot of unemployment are the growing. Unemployment also, the inequality is also growing. Where the top 1 or 5%, they have quite a lot of share of the income, assets. When the top below 10 have absolutely nothing. This scenario is caused by various reasons. Do you think, as a prospective administrator, do you think what we can do about it? Raghuram Rajan is often talking about this.
Yes, sir. Even all the finance commission reports have this inclusive in their as their target, and the government has inclusive growth as one of its agendas in all the budgets in the last recent years. As an administrator, one of the functions of the government is redistribution of money, redistribution of wealth. Like
Well,
people who have wealth, they pay tax, and then that tax is distributed via directly or indirectly through welfare measures. So one of the ways as an administrator to decrease that this poverty divide is to make sure that the schemes targeted towards the welfare of the most poor people are executed, and governance is reached to those people actually. For example, the one of
okay,
the poverty.
yeah, your answer is very general, but you can say like kind of Amartya Sen's concept of distribution of wealth is all practically it has a lot of difficulties. It is not something like kind of sharing the wealth. It will not be that easy to do it in a system where we have, mostly it is all a capitalistic based system. So it will not be just, you cannot do that. And where we can do it, where we can provide the small companies to grow to a mid level instead of having huge capitalistic or huge monopolies on one side, right? So they form cartel. So instead of that, we'll have some 10 or 15, 20 companies, just like as we have in US. Even US, you have large monopolies. But there are smaller ones also grow up. To grow up the smaller, this thing, we need to give a technical support. We need to give credit. The flow of credit, very important. That is important. So if you provide that, then entrepreneurial skill also need to be developed. Then only we'll be able to match up to that extent. Otherwise, you also need to have proper welfareism, your targeted welfare measures. Well, now I think we'll go to, Pradhan Mantri, Prime Minister has been often mentioning about Revdi culture. Is that Revdi culture is now, some people say it is being replaced by too much of focus on infrastructure. What is your idea? Are we still on Revdi culture or we are focusing on infrastructure?
Yes, the recent discussion on agriculture, or what we call as freebies, which are promised mostly during the election or other times, it needs to be balanced, because one thing is freebies cannot only be seen as something which is done to attract the votes. It also has a welfare approach towards people. There is this distribution of wealth which goes along with this freebie scheme. And then the second aspect is maintaining the fiscal and the economic impact of freebies on the state's finances. That has also to be balanced. So, and then the third thing is freebies or the reveries do not have, the constitution and the legal aspects are not very clear. The constitution or the Representation of People Act, they're not very clear as to whether promising freebies is a ground for cancelling the candidature or other such measures. So one thing is there has to be a clear legal mandate through the constitution or the RPA Act that what is the limitation and what is the cap on freebies which can be given. Second thing is the kind of the kind of infrastructure that is given through freebies. If there is public goods involved in freebies, for example, if the freebies involved recently they say that electricity will be free. This is a very common political call in various elections. This is something which has both sides. One is it is good for development because since free electricity would also promote growth of industries and household consumptions. But then there is this thing of a bad impact on of this thing on the state power distribution companies, and discoms are already financially stressed. So there has to be a delicate balance between freebies as something of a political tool as well as infrastructure.
Yeah, because that may not lead to what is known as, you can use words like, the revenue deficit, fiscal deficit, and also, too much of expenditure without this thing, they will not, in course of time, the entire economy will break down. So they will not have money to spend for any development activities. So they need to be balanced. And particularly the revenue is one time, it is okay. But most of them are like kind of energy or with regard to, continuous payment, and it is not really going targeted. Well, now I'll have few more questions to complete this, and I will go on what do you call the Food Security Act. You heard about the National Food Security Act, right? But are we doing real justice to Food Security Act?
Yes, sir. The Food Security Act, the Targeted Public Distribution Scheme, it has a lot of pros and cons. Pros is that a lot of a large part of coverage of population has happened under the PDS scheme, as was pointed in various committees such as Shanta Kumar Committee, etc.
Yes.
But coming to the shortcomings, the recent few examples I can quote is Chhattisgarh is generally treated as a golden model for PDS and NFSA Act. But then there are problems with biometric update, the database not linked properly, so people are not able to receive their rations in time because their fingerprints do not match or the database is not updated. Second is the inclusion and exclusion errors, which has been in a large way taken care by the Aadhaar linking, but still the diversion of rations meant for the targeted welfare has been diverted to other well-off families who do not actually deserve the welfare schemes. And then the thing is,
about Garib Kalyan Yojana.
the next point I was mentioning is, I was just about to mention that in the COVID time, this scheme was extended towards in terms of the coverage of the population as well as the allocated demand of the food grains was increased more, like 5 kgs of more grains per month. So yes, the coverage as well as the allotment should be increased to ensure that all the deficiency issues and the health and hunger issues are taken care of, as well as technology can also play a major part in ensuring that efficient.
In addition, you can always say that recently the data show that as per the Act, they cover 75% of the rural population and 25% of the urban population. And it is based on 2011 census. For 10 years, quite a lot of changes have come in. So there will be quite a lot of exclusion. So the Food Security Act, which means to cover the 100%, will not be able to cover. This one point, I think we can mention that you can say, sir, they can adopt the latest census that is available with them, though it has not been published. The data, sample data will be available, so they can do that. And it, again, take away, because there are urbanized, urban centers are more in places like Tamil Nadu. But still you find a lot of people, not getting their ration, not getting their free rice. So that kind of a approach can help when you are talking about. You give quite a lot of inputs on that, but this kind of a thing, it's very, very critical, where 75% rural, 25% rural based on 2011, right? Fine. Very good. This is, I'm giving you, trying to improve your, the answers to that extent. And you have been chairman of ICE in your college, and Spirit Ed Club. What is the Spirited Club?
Yes, sir. Spirited Club is an acronym for Students Participatory Initiative for Rural IT and Education. That is the acronym. So basically, it was a club of people who were. Yes, sir. Were you,
Yeah,
sir,
go ahead.
saying? Uh, so basically, it was a club meant for organizing education camps for people who were living in slums around our college area. So we tied up with government schools, wherein after the school hours, a group of 4 to 5 people from our college used to go and teach them basics of computer, how to even switch on a computer, use MS Paint, and how to change the wallpaper, getting awareness about computer. And our college, as part of their, donation and CSR thing, they had donated an entire computer lab in one of the school centers. So
Very
basically,
good.
this club was entrusted to, run and manage that computer thing.
Very good. Now, we have one section say that India should focus on manufacturing. And experts like Raghuram Rajan, they say that we should concentrate on service sector. It both appears to be good. But what do you think is a better approach?
Yes, sir. The service sector has overtaken manufacturing sector after the LPG reforms of 91. Uh, Regarding both of them are necessary in their own ways to ensure the growth of India. But then I would say that service sector has more potential. Why? Because one is the kind of skill sets that is required in the service sector. India, since because of its demographic, favorable demographic dividend, has a lot of young people who have basic skills of IT, engineering, the STEM sector, which have they can act as assets in contribute more easily in the service sector compared to the manufacturing sector. One. Two is if we compare the setup times of both the sectors, service sector has a very quick setup, and it can start giving returns or assets in very short time. Whereas setting up a manufacturing unit and then breaking even and giving profits take a lot of time. So service sector has the advantage of first mover. It has the advantage of having good amount of skilled people. Whereas manufacturing is important to ensure that we are not dependent on a lot of external factors for our growth. So both have to
Very
be
good.
balanced.
Very good. Qatar is such a small country, and they are hosting an event like FIFA. What is the need behind it?
Yes, the FIFA World Cup at Qatar is being organized. The need is Qatar has like not historically, like diplomatically, it is not at very good relations with the other Gulf countries. Like most of them
Good.
do not have diplomatic ties with Qatar, and because
Good.
its economy is not oil based, it's more based on LNG and LPG. So
Exactly.
Qatar is trying to diversify its diplomatic relations, and as part of its soft power, it is trying to project itself as a meeting point, or this tournament which can help in its initiative. That is what is my take.
Exactly. There is a one word which is being used in diplomatic circle for that. Can you tell me?
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not
It's
sure.
called it's called sports washing. You wash away all your bad images and your sins, and you try to project as if you are a person capable of holding international relation, international event, and you tell the world that you are totally changed, right? So that is the idea. So it's known as just like greenwashing, where people show that it is an organic material. This is called what is known as a sports washing through the conducting of sports. This was also adopted by Hitler in 1941 when the World War took place. He wanted to showcase that still, they are good people, they don't have any bad intention. That was the idea. Like that now Qatar is also, but you know pretty well most of these stadiums that are built are not going to be useful to them for any future events. Maybe they have to be converted into some godowns, we do not know. But in any way, it's now changing its, what you call, the entire perception about the country. That you already given. Very good. And there are large number of questions I can ask. But as regard to Bihar, you know, you find a lot of variations right from Patna on this side and to Bhalia on the other, that Purulia and Bhagalpur in between. And why that kind of a variations within the this, what you call state itself prevails?
Yes, sir. The variation exists, one, because Bihar can be divided into different pockets of culture. Like one is the Mithila region, which has got its own separate culture. And then there is
Yes.
this Tirhut region, which has its own history of republics and this thing. And the British period was also marked by British using different regions for different purposes.
Yes.
Like introduced sugarcane plantations in the Nepal adjoining districts, Champaran and UP Tarai belt basically. So their economy is more based on cash crops rather than rice and wheat. And then in the Magad belt, they introduced that indigo cultivation, which also led to the Champaran revolt and all that. So one thing is because of the influence of Britishers, and second is the rate of urbanization in Bihar has been very uneven. We do not find many urbanized pockets other than a few cities of, let's say, Patna, Bhagalpur, or Gaya. So there has been an unbalanced urbanization and unbalanced development, which has led to this variation in economy as well as culture.
Well, now if you know take a backward district like Purulia, and if you are appointed as a DM there, what will you do specifically? 2, 3 things for development of women's education.
The first thing which comes to my mind is I would ensure that the school infrastructure, the primary and the middle schools and the government schools setup is good, and it is not like it is equally distributed. No one should go very far to attend schools. So either better infrastructure in the schools, including toilets and gender inclusive schools. Second is the better distribution of schools, like each block or district, whatever the government norms have in the right to education, that should be fulfilled. And third is improving the quality of teaching. Like I would ensure that teachers are given adequate trainings online or by whichever means, and inspection and audits happen so that the quality of education is affected. And fourth is the gender awareness and gender sensitization, because amongst like even today in villages, people are very hesitant to send their girl child to college, to schools. So
Security, girl child security is very important in a
correctly.
place like Bihar. Yeah.
So I would ensure that the stigma is broken via various outreach campaigns and also liaising with the NGOs to ensure that a
I,
conducive environment
see,
for women
I
education.
often suggest that those who have studied, up to 8th standard, will provide a 5 lakh rupees credit card to them so that they can pursue their education with that credit card. It may
Yes, sir.
be some imagination, but as a administrator, you need to invent new things. It is not possible, then it becomes within the realm of possible, right? Like freebies, we never thought freebies can go to this extent, insensible extent. It is all happening. So you can
One of the
think in terms of that, how you can create a database and you can follow up in individual basis, and how you can make security arrangements in the school, and you can provide what you could known as a working women hostel, then women's hostel in colleges and schools, so that the parents feel secure to send their daughters, because that's a major problem. If I am not comfortable with my security of my daughter, I don't want her to compromise despite all the promises given by the collector or wordings given by the district administration, right? So I think you can look at your various issues. Well, now we'll come to an end with this, because we have done quite a lot of things, and I will give you a feedback first. Then I will give you. We'll have your note session. Which you want first, feedback or you wanted to ask your questions?
Either way is good. Sir, we can start with feedback, and at the end, I would put
Fine.
forward my
Okay.
doubts.
Feedback. I'll keep it very short. Basically, Rahul Srivastava, you are a candidate suitable for Indian Administrative Service. What I find is that you need to refine your answers, make it short. Where I sometimes say, sir, kindly avoid those things. The elderly people, they'll be very kind, they'll be very cordial. Our idea is not that cordiality, ultimately 200, right? Our intention is to get somewhere around 200. So you keep your face, sometimes you are keeping your face little, expecting another answer. Keep it as a general conversation, because you are already working. So your expectation from you will be more. You attended many such meetings with people who are sitting. So make it little more casual. And as regards your answers are there, very good. But you are trying to sometimes, you're beating around the bush, and they say, sir, it is, do you know? All those things you can avoid. In an informal way, addressing may not be liked by them. So make it a formal addressing, because that comes only by means of training. Automatically we will talk to you like, do you know that, and all that. That we try to contain for the interview sake, right? Then, as regards to your answers, I find that I didn't test you in your subjects, instrumentation, electrical engineering. That you kindly have a basic idea how this will be helpful to your service, and how this instrumentation is an important subject which is either neglected or properly attended to in India. Just have some idea. And as regards to your DAF is concerned, you will prepare at least 100 questions. At least 100 questions. Just like your Rahul Dravid, Rahul Gandhi, have small ideas. Then say what makes you important. Then you don't give a political idea, you have to give them, because it comes to mind because he has been taking up that yatra. That's why I came to know. Invariably, political questions will not be asked, because they know pretty well they cannot accept an answer that is against the government, right? So that is not their intention. So don't criticize government. I have seen that you have not been criticizing the government anywhere. That's a good thing. And when they make you to stop, you stop there itself, because they have limited time. So if they wanted to stop you, you just stop. Listen to the next question, because I always believe that your answer should be to the tune of 40 to 50 seconds, not more than that. Either right from your introduction. There is no need for very elaborate introduction. Just say you hail from Bihar, studied this place, got with a distinction, studied at this place. Of course, it is all okay. Then you can also mention your passion about civil service in a more sustainable manner. In the sense, it should not appear that because you are now 30 years, right? So it should not appear as if you are only keen on cracking. No, you can say that I sustain my interest in having different varieties of job. Are you happy with the job or not? You can very well say, sir, whatever I do, I'm doing with happiness. Because unless you do with happiness, passion, you can't do anything. At the same time, one always has some thing to be achieved in his mind. That is how I look forward to civil service, because India, as you said, poised for growth. India is going to become a global leader, and I will be a part of the writing of the history. Somewhere in my part, I will be there. This is what makes me to still try for all India services. They make what is your preference for IAS, why not other services? Then you can give them a fitting reply. You can say, yes, sir, but if I don't get IAS, if I get into any other service, well and good. As long as I can do the job, I'm prepared to do that. And I think your appearance you can make a little more better with a proper shaving. I hope you'll keep them, right? Because you are already an employed person. Don't need to tell you how people look at things. And these are the kind of feedback I would like to give you. Otherwise, you are very good. And what you can do is you can have a few more mock personality tests, where you will listen to people asking different. Sometimes you are, you never heard about why. I will ask like, who is going to win FIFA? You will say Argentina or France or Brazil, right? Whoever is contesting. I will say no, it's going to be Qatar. Why Qatar? Then, as I explained, this kind of a good, you can make conversation, keep smiling, keep yourself smiling. You should be seen as smiling, not, sometimes you are keeping your face very tight. So make it yourself. Wherever there is a need, you can smile out, because the smile, it enhances your beauty. So wherever there is unnecessarily, we don't smile, right? Keep little pace, and this you can avoid. When you are talking, don't cross talk, and when they say something, do listen to them. If you don't know, you can always say, "Sorry, sir, I'm afraid, but still I make a guess. My guess is this." You can answer like that.
It has been a great pleasure.
So we
this
didn't touch about place like environment. We didn't touch, because recent developments for the past 1 year, and a lot of bills are getting passed day by day, because the parliament is in session. So quite a questions can come from the parliament, and the circular economy, the inflation, quite a lot of economic this thing is going about. Now the economic survey will also be out shortly, maybe not shortly, it will be on 1st February. If your interview is fixed before that, it is okay. Otherwise, have some idea about the basics of summary. Read the summary. You will not have this thing. Then you prepare your answers to various questions. 100 questions, definitely more than 100 questions from your DAF 1 and 2. Keep your DAF, right from your quiz program. You can always, these are definite cases. So you can have these questions, and Kingmakers IAS Academy will help you to prepare answers for them. Some ready-made questions, ready-made answers for them. So you make it, right? And otherwise, I think you're filling to my demand. You'll be able to manage things very well, but always, you're always on a safer side. Spend at least 2-3 hours a day. Enhance your knowledge. Rather than knowledge, it is on your take. What will be your take? As I've been talking about the best practices in Europe, when you are talking about, you can mention about Amartya Sen, because that make people to understand that you are not only writing an answer, right? You are giving something. It means you are pulling out from your memory Amartya Sen, the Nobel laureate. Then you can say about capitalism. Then you can say globalization, deglobalization. You can use words like deglobalization, protectionism, which one word explains everything. To try to be frugal in your words, more meaningful, right? This you try to do it. And some questions you can give to somebody else to ask. You can get it recorded. You can see for yourself. Even this video will be available to you, right? You can see how you are reacting to questions. So this is my feedback. You need to develop to that extent. Otherwise, I'll find you are a candidate 190 to 200. I can certainly tell you, have confidence in you, because this time you will win. That's my gut feeling. When I'm talking to you for the past 1 hour, I have that gut feeling for you. So, very good. Now, whatever doubts you have.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the feedback. I do not have a lot of doubts, although I would ask your suggestion on how to tackle the question of like why from NTPC to civil services. Like, can there be a better answer to?
Yeah, you can always say, sir, NTPC because I want to always just don't spend only my time for civil service preparation. That is for 1 year I have done. After that, I wanted to do economically, contribute to my family and also to the nation. That is why I continue that. But rest of the time, my mind is always on civil service. So that is why I am doing it. NTPC is really good. But when as you said, when I get into better this thing, I'll have larger idea with NTPC background will help me for managing what you call energy sector, power sector, industry sector when I go and work. And my experience will help me to a greater extent. That you can mention.
Okay. Other than that, sir, like right now, I'm not able to recall any doubts
No
of
problem.
anything.
No problem. What you can do is you can list out them, because I'm happy that you are the first person to come forward to have one-on-one. Because this is very, very important. People, they think, let us wait for the day to come. We did not wait. You go ahead, you prepare. because nobody knows how long you are going to prepare, right? Ultimately, how well you do in the interview is very important. So, it is because we are not going to do a formal interview in a day-to-day life. So this type of one-on-one session you can have with a number of people. So they will also, inculcate idea. Some of the answers I have told when you ask me question, how I am answering that. Because I am doing it because I am like a teacher, so I am doing it, right? But whereas, as from your side, how you can give the same answer in a better way. That will be helpful to you, right? So you have that. And best way is take up this video and go through that. And doubts you can always write down. You have a piece of paper, write down all your answers, 100 answers you can write. And something like, you are from your chemical, your electrical engineering, basics of electrical engineering, you keep somebody, if he is well versed, because I am not good at that, somebody may ask you questions, right? From electrical engineering, they may ask you questions. We cannot say I have forgotten everything. You can tell because still you are in the field, NTPC. And NTPC, it's one of the very important organizations, have its basic idea, what its profit, loss, its, ongoing programs, and how it has been, can it be possible to overall change over from thermal to totally become solar? Some questions that people can ask, that you can give a suitable answer for that. And are your doubts, you can note it down. You can have even one total doubt clearance session after some time, maybe after a month or so, when your dates are announced. Have you got the dates?
Not yet, sir.
Yeah, not yet. So, go ahead, prepare. When you feel comfortable, you can get back. You can ask Madhuri ma'am. She will organize another one-on-one session like this. We can do. We can meanwhile have some mock personality tests with people with the people around. So that also give you a more idea. This one-on-one is to strengthen your confidence, to improve your level of understanding, and to give you this idea. That was my intention to do it. So still, I tell you, you are a perfect candidate. You will be able to impress upon. So this is not just a gainsaying, because you are able to answer to many of my questions. You are not, drifting away. So that way, I am very happy, and I wish you all the best, and hope this is useful to you. Can you give me what your feedback on the program?
It was a real pleasure to interact with a very esteemed and senior bureaucrat like you. And
Okay.
your questions, like this is my first session in this interview thing. So your questions is like something very relevant and very, very contemporary. And you have covered almost every section of my DAP, is what I feel. That is something which I really appreciate.
Thank
And
you.
yes, it was a real pleasure, sir. I thank you for the valuable feedback which I received.
Okay. Thank you, Raghu. Wish you all the best. Thank you. Let God be
Thank you,
with
sir.
you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. So should I exit the session now?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we'll exit. Thank you.
Thank you.
This conference is no longer being recorded.